Welcome, everybody, back to our second episode of Flicker with Jack and Scott. My name is Jack Hanley. I am a film critic, a programmer, a film historian, and I am here with my lifelong friend, my partner in cinephilia, Scott Ogner, also an academic, also a film critic and programmer, also a diehard cinephile. Scott, welcome to our second
Right.
episode.
That's right. I'm happy to be back.
So, continuing with our theme, right now we are doing our next episode here about the Academy Awards, mainly our prognostication about who will win, with a few added caveats to that, right? Where
Right.
for those who are just joining us, there are a lot of shows out there or just articles each year specifically related to who will win in a particular category to help you dominate your Oscar pool. Then some folks go a step further and announce this is who will win, but here is who should win out of the category to add a bit more critical analysis to it. But we, dear viewer, go a step further to a third level where
That's
we
right.
add as our tradition from our various different journals and blogs and podcasts we've been on together over these many years talking about cinema together, and that is the actual best performance or a film of all of 2023 of that year in question. And so we will apply that now. And Scott, what is our category for this episode?
So for this episode, we are going to continue from where we left off last time, and we will be tackling the supporting actress category.
Yes.
So continuing on from last time, which was our supporting actor category.
I have to say, too, that normally for me in years past, and we together, we know about this from our childhoods, have been Academy Award nerds and cinephile nerds that kind of used to love watch the Academy Awards at various times in our life. Probably now progress a lot to hate watching the Academy Awards, but we still
Sometimes.
do. It's part of our filmic DNA, Scott. But I did notice, one can't help kind of creating a mental hierarchy when you're kind of looking at the list and selections each year and being somewhat comparative to years past. At least it does for me. I don't know about you. And I have to say, Best Supporting Actress tends to be a category where traditionally, I would say more often than not, are a lot of the more exciting races or some of the better performances typically.
Yeah, I would agree.
I hate to say that for me this year, I think we don't have an amazing year. And I'm not saying this to slam any of the people on the list, all of whom I love. I mean more that I just don't think personally this year they were given the type of performances or at least the focus or opportunity to demonstrate what makes them such great actors in the first place, right?
Yeah, I would agree. I think in past years, there's always been, a couple, if not the whole list, where you can really identify like these are not just great performances, obviously, which is what we're thinking about, but just great roles created for those performances. And I would agree. I feel like, and again, no slam to any of them. They are amazing performances in their own respect, but I do feel like the characters are maybe not quite what we're used to seeing. So I would agree.
Yeah. Just felt like that. And again, I happen to love all of them in their own way for different performances.
For sure.
Typically, right? So, all right, for those watching, let's go down the list. Selected this year by the Academy. Here are our nominees for Best Supporting Actress. We have America Ferrera for Barbie. We have Danielle Brooks for The Color Purple. Divine Joy Randolph for The Holdovers. Emily Blunt for Oppenheimer. And Jodie Foster for Nyad coming in there. That last one being a bit of a surprise, I would say, on nomination. And I think responsible for a lot of film Twitter outrage. And there was a lot of film Twitter outrage that day. We don't have to get into the entire Gerwig of it all. But I think so that's our starting point. And as we always do, Scott, we will jump into our very first category that we have, subcategory, and that is, Scott, who do you think will win in this category?
Yeah, I mean, I think my will win. I think I'm ready to play it safe on this one. I think there is a very heavy favorite in this category. I really think that it would be seen as a huge upset if we see anything other than Da'Vine Joy Randolph winning this category. I think that is the heavy favorite, and I would even say, well, I won't touch on the next category, but I would say that is the heavy favorite, and I think it would be an extremely a big upset if something else were to take place.
I am so with you here. I mean, just looking at that list over there too. I mean, and at least a shout out again to America for a
Hmm.
great little performance in a
Yep.
standout role in a film that everyone conveniently they seem to forget about her nomination
Right.
in their rage
Yep.
about perceived snubs in that category,
Yeah.
forgetting that she was represented there. So only
And,
white
and it
Barbie
is a great
draws
role.
the
I mean, I
outrage.
think, and I think in the case of America Ferrera, that is maybe one of the stronger or more interesting character roles given.
That's right.
So I mean, yeah, I definitely commend that one for sure.
I'm with you too, and I think and I love Jodie Foster, and
Yeah.
not to make the open claim that she's dialing it in on this one. I would maybe urge you to go watch True Detective season 4, Night Country, if you want to
Yes. Yes. Please do.
see Foster doing her thing
Yep.
in a better way than in that film.
I
And
agree.
that's just underwhelming films for me for a lot of the
Hmm.
years. So, like you, I'm going to also play it safe because I need to stay close to you. This is the part in our battle each year. I've got to hit you in these safe categories, and I absolutely think that Da'Vine Joy Randolph will also win for the holdovers here. I have to say too, I adore her as an actress, and I think
Yeah.
she has a tendency to steal every single
Yep.
minute of film time when she's put on as a character actor, and I've always adored her. And kind of going in, I was like, okay, this should be an obvious for me. But having watched the film, I just they did not give her enough
No.
room. I feel
I
or
totally agree.
space to
I totally
breathe
agree.
and really become to her potential that she always brings.
I 100% agree because I think even what she is in the film, she did exactly what you're saying, right? She stole the scenes she was
Yeah,
in the
yeah.
film. So, yeah, why not give her even more because I think it was an interesting character. I think it was a very complex character and I think it was a really great performance. So, yeah, I would have loved to see even more of it. I totally
A lot
agree.
more for me on that one too.
Yep.
I could remember being like a rarity to have a character that I just felt really was like kind of like made a subsidiary character at the expense of the film. I mean, I
Yep.
think everyone really would have wanted a lot more of her in that and to do her thing specifically.
Yeah.
I
I
think the
totally agree.
real lock here, Scott, too, is that for me, if you took the voting, if you had to right now, you and I were writing a screenplay and we were trying to come up with the average traditional, safe, conservative
Mhm.
Academy voter, and we compiled what they would look like,
Yeah.
I would proffer that audience would look like the majorly what the audience of the holdovers looks like in any given theater. I
Mhm.
think that this is a film tailored to the as a throwback bit of nostalgia.
Yep.
It is tailor made for the Academy voter traditionalist demographic,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I think
I would
as
agree.
such they're gonna land hard with this pick.
Yep. I totally agree.
So I think so. All right, so unsurprisingly, we have once again come together on an agreement. Scott, let's see if we have some variation like last episode. Who should win this category out of these 5 choices?
I mean, out of these 5 choices, I'm giving you the same. I am giving you
All
the
right, all
same.
right.
I think out of these 5 choices, I would agree that it is still Da'Vine Joy Randolph as the should win for this category.
Okay, perfect. Well, we have finally a bit of digression here. In this one particular category, while I love her, as I mentioned before, I think that she is just astonishing given the limitations of what she was allowed to perform with in that film.
Hmm.
And that would be why I'm trending in this way. So if I'm going purely on that, I would actually have to argue my pick is Danielle Brooks for The Color
Hmm.
Purple.
Yeah.
A film that just does not again because of the adaptation as a Broadway musical and then
Yep.
translating that back to film. I do say with apologies that while I'm glad a new generation can experience it,
Yeah.
go back and watch the original. I mean, I think the performances in that original, in preparation for this, I went back and was just watching some original clips. Whoopi Goldberg,
Nice.
in my opinion, was so
Yeah.
desperately robbed with
Yep.
such a beautiful performance that I've never seen maybe perhaps a more powerful depiction of timidity as power through glances. She is astonishing in this. And likewise in this one, a film that I don't think is necessarily a great film and certainly not as good as The Holdovers. I think that Danielle Brooks has more to do, is given a lot more freedom to
Yeah.
act and be who she is and
Yep.
a much less restrained performance. So
Yeah.
under that, within this year for these categories, I would go with Danielle. And again, two great actresses, by the way, who I hope to see in a
Right.
lot of things all the time.
Yeah,
I
put
mean,
them
even you go
together in
back to
something. Put them together in something. Let's
yeah,
make that happen.
exactly right. We want to see more
Who's
of them
listening
over
out
here.
there? We
But
want to
so
see them together in something. That'd be
for
great.
this year, that is my should. So Scott, as we come to our final category, where we deviate the actual best supporting performance of the year,
Yeah.
of 2023, the year that was. What are your picks?
So this is where it always gets fun, right? And I think this is probably our most favorite part of doing this is always we get to now share some of our thoughts that are outside, I guess, a little bit of what's
That's
going
right.
on politically with the Academy Awards. So I have a couple thoughts here, but I think I'll start off with my number one, and we can dive into see if some of my other ones here on my list show up for you maybe, and if not, we'll share those also. So my
Excellent.
number one is Io Adibri in Bottoms. And I would say Ruby Cruz right there with her, but I do think I had a little bit of a preference for Io Adibri in Bottoms, which I absolutely love that film. It's a film that I did not expect to love as much as I did going in, and it's a film that has still stuck with me, now months after watching it, and I just loved it. Charming performance, excellent film. So there's
I'm
mine.
so happy with your choice. I would like our viewers to know we made an agreement in doing this new series that we would never share our picks ahead of time. We're reacting live. We have no idea what the other is going to say. And I will say that not my number one pick, but written down here on my notes is the great hybridity of the Adibri Senate amalgamation that was the two supporting performances in Bottoms. I loved that film. I'm so glad to hear that you loved it. I knew you'd love it, but we didn't even talk about this yet. We've not yet spoken of our love for this film.
We haven't.
So marvelous choice. I love your selection here, and that is on my notes as well.
Nice.
Well, tell me, I guess before I go to my, what are some of your other selections?
I also have Hong Chau on my list. I think we got two, I think, great performances. So Asteroid City, which originally I was thinking does this technically qualify? It does. So that was a big one. And then also Showing Up. So yeah, two great performances from Hong Chau, and I think an actress who I am increasingly loving even more the more she's popping up in things. So
I agree. And it seems like every year we have ways to say for multiple performances this year. Because she is just
which is great.
Amazing every time she's employed. Okay, I love your choice.
I do have a third one, but I'm gonna hold off on my third one.
Hold on. All right, cool.
It may show up for you.
So as we mentioned before, our supporting pair from Bottoms, magnificent, comic genius. When I have not laughed out loud at the theater anywhere this year, or perhaps in several years like I have with that film.
And also been baffled by it. I was like, the whole time, I'm like, I cannot get over the fact that I am watching something that feels so interesting and new and unique and funny and heartfelt, and I just loved it.
Well, yeah, when you want a real demonstration of the subjectivity of humor is being in that theater and just my loud, uproarious cackle and then someone else's terrible silence and then just feeling instantly, right? We are just not the same, right? So that film for me, and again, I'm so glad you picked that as your number one. Let me also say that we, again, in this household, and your mutual friend, our wonderful producer, Shay Westcott, basically at gunpoint wanted me to bring up Sebastian Silva, the great independent director that we are all big fans of. His latest outing is Rotting in the Sun, and there's an insanely great supporting performance there by Catalina Saavedra, who was the lead in The Maid, one of his one of the earlier films, and she is just fantastic here as well. That one, I think, is a performance that needs to be seen. Awesome. But for my number one, and again, there's always the contention too, Scott, about what constitutes like lead or supporting. Right. So this is one, and so I only feel I'm justified here simply because she was nominated for this film as a supporting in several other awards. So I think it gives me pause. And my number one choice this year is Sandra Hüller for The Zone of Interest. Just a stunning performance. Yeah. And I can't wait for us to find a way to talk more about that film, which we will obviously throughout this series. Her performance is chilling. It is subtle. It is just it is demonstrably vital. And my favorite of I know there's a lot of people that are just all in for Anatomy of a Fall, where she was also unfairly brilliant, mind you. But here she also she did this reining in and contortions with her face that I think just are, blew everyone out of the water, in my opinion,
Yeah.
as well. So that would be my final pick.
You will be happy to know I'm glad I held off on saying my third one written down, because that's exactly who I've got written down for a third possibility. And same thing, I kind of oscillated back and forth between whether or not I was comfortable saying it was a supporting performance, or even whether or not which film I was going to sort of vouch for, because I think, much like you, two incredible performances this year, right? I mean, like, when I look at both of those films together, which are easily in possibly my top 5, I think both of those films of the year, and to have that performance from her showing up in both of those, that's pretty incredible for a year in cinema.
I agree. So wholeheartedly. So big shouts to you, Sandra. Despite you coming out very publicly, and I've been seeing her going around saying I had made a swearing as a German actress that I never wanted to play a Nazi. And I'm so glad that you acquiesced for this most amazing film by Glazer that I can't wait for us to talk about a lot more. So, all right, that is our wrap up. For you following at home who are trying to dominate your Oscar pool, our official selections, we both on this one are in agreement that Joy Randolph will take this home for the holdovers. And if she does, a well-deserved night. It's going to make for an amazing moment. Anytime she's just up on the stage, I have a large grin of delight because she is just marvelous. And I think we both can also agree, too, just more of her all the time would make us very happy. And so
she will no doubt have a phenomenal acceptance speech, and no doubt deserves to be right up there, getting that recognition, and hopefully now appearing in even more, because we love it.
In more films where she's given more juice, more substantial role. Hollywood. So there you go. This will not be the first time we lecture Hollywood on this.
Right? Like people, they just need to listen to us, right? I mean, come on.
Vlog, right?
We'll just make the whole machine
You're
happen.
right here. Well, my friend, thank you again for joining us on this another episode of Flicker with Jack and Scott. We'll be coming with another episode soon. And if you like this episode or just want to hear more of us bloviate about cinema, gushing about cinema, which we are passionate about, please like this channel and subscribe. This one's a little bit of a different format than the ones we're used to, so we have to make that plea. You'll get alerts anytime we have a new one. This is a weekly venture, and we'll be also, though, branching out and talking about all sorts of different topics within film. Our first couple ones will be Academy Award oriented out of the gate, but we have a lot more interesting things to say and discuss and argue. We rarely argue about cinema, so
that we need to find that at some point. We should
have to find
at some point. We need to intentionally take something that we vehemently disagree on.
There's got to be one that forces us to rip off our shirts and like battle on a hilltop about. I'm very anxious to discover what that would be. All right. Well, my brother, thank you again for joining me in this episode. There's nothing more in the world I love than talking cinema and talking cinema with you. And you, our viewers, join us. Thank you for being here. Follow us for the next one. Like and subscribe and share this if you like it.
And we'll see you next time.
See you next time.